Welcome to Geography Samachir Syllabus of Tamil Nadu. Class 10, Economics, Lesson 2, Globalization and Trade, Part 1. What is globalization? Globalization in its literal sense is the process of transformation of local phenomenon into global ones, a process by which the people of the world are unified into a single society and function together. Globalization is the integration of a country with the world economy. Basically, globalization signifies a process of internationalization plus liberalization. And globalization makes it possible for the worldwide economical, political, and cultural exchange of ideas. It describes how the world is becoming economically and politically one. The economic aspects of globalization include trade, investment, and migration across the countries. Globalization believes that human beings should have greater access to vast number of goods. The historical background of globalization can be discussed on 3 stages. And before that, let us see who coined the term globalization. The term of globalization was introduced by Theodore Levitch. He said, everywhere, everything gets more and more like everything else as the world's preference structure is relentlessly homogenized. And the 3 stages of globalization are archaic globalization, proto-globalization, modern globalization. Let us see about the first one, archaic globalization. An early form of globalized economics and culture known as archaic globalization existed during Hellenistic age. What is Hellenistic age? The period from the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC to the middle of the 1st century BC. It was marked by the Greek and Macedonian immigration to areas conquered by Alexander and by the spread of Greek civilization from Greece to northern India. And this period is known as Hellenistic age. And during this period, commercialized urban centers were focused around the axis of Greek culture over a wide range that stretched from India to Spain, with such cities as Alexandria, Athens, and Antioch at its center. Trade was widespread during that period, and it is the first time the idea of cosmopolitan culture, from the Greek word cosmopolis meaning world city, emerged. Others have perceived an early form of globalization in the trade links between the Roman Empire, the Parthian Empire, and the Han Dynasty. The increasing proper and organized commercial links between these powers inspired the development of the Silk Route, which started in western China, reached the boundaries of Parthian Empire, and continued onwards towards Rome. The Islamic age was also an important early stage of globalization. The advent of the Mongol Empire, though destabilizing to the commercial centers of the Middle East and China, greatly facilitated travel along the Silk Road. These pre-modern phase of global exchange are sometimes known as archaic globalization. The next stage is proto-globalization. Proto-globalization or early modern globalization is a period roughly between 1600 and 1800. It distinguishes itself modern on basis of expansionism, method of managing global trade, and the level of information exchange. Proto-globalization was characterized by the rise of maritime European empire. In 16th and 17th century, it developed further when chartered companies like British East India Company and Dutch East India Company were established. It was characterized by the rise of maritime European empires in the 16th and 17th centuries. First, the Portuguese and Spanish empires, and Dutch and British empires. In the 17th century, globalization became private business phenomenon like British East India Company, which was founded in the year 1600, described as the first multinational company, and the first Dutch East India Company, founded in 1602, were established. In the 16th century, Portuguese were started establishing trading posts, factories from Africa to Asia and Brazil. And who are Dutch? The people of Holland are called as Dutch. And now Dutch is called, that is the Holland is called as Netherlands nowadays. From 1715 to 1850, the British East India Company ruled most of India with little interference from Britain. To protect their trade and territories, British officials hired Indian soldiers called Sipais. The third stage is modern globalization. The contemporary process of globalization likely occurred around the middle of the 19th century as increased capital and labor mobility coupled with the decreased transport costs led to a smaller world, that is, shrinking world. Between the globalization in the 19th and in the 20th century, there are significant differences. Right from the invention of the wheel, the world has become shrunk. Industrialization allowed cheap production of household items using economies of scale, while rapid population growth created sustained demand for commodities. So industrialization is one of the major reasons for the globalization, and when the goods were produced in huge quantities and also because of the increase in population, naturally the demand for the goods produced were also increased, and that led to the modern sphere of globalization. There are two main points on which the differences can be seen. One point is the global trade in the centuries as well as the capital investment and the economy. The global trade in the 20th century shows a higher share of trade in merchant production, a growth of the trade in services, and the rise of production and trade by multinational firms. Trade and traders in South India, historical perspective. Southern Indian trade guilds were formed by merchants in order to organize and expand their trading activities. Trade guilds become channels through which Indian culture was exported to other lands, even to the Far East. From the 11th century to the 13th century, South Indian trade in Southeast Asia was dominated by Chola Empire. Early traders. In the year 1053 AD, the Kalinga traders, the modern Odisha was called as Kalinga in those days, brought red-colored stone, decorative objects for trade, and also cotton textile to Southeast Asia at an early date. Now let us see about the European traders. This was due to the trading activities of the various European companies which came to India during this period. The discovery of a new all-sea route from Europe to India via Cape of Good Hope by Vasco da Gama had reaching repercussions or impact on the civilized world. The Portuguese, under the leadership of Vasco da Gama, landed at Calicut, which is called as Kozhikode now in Kerala, on May 1498. Profits of goods brought by Vasco da Gama to Portugal were to 60 times cost of the entire expedition to India. The second trip of Vasco da Gama in 1502 led to the establishment of trading station at Calicut, Cochin and Kannanur. Cochin was the early capital of the Portuguese in India. So this was the route through which Vasco da Gama sailed to India through this Cape of Good Hope. So in those days, nowadays easily they can cross this Mediterranean Sea and enter Asia through the Suez Canal. But in those days, they had to travel a lot. And he discovered the sea route by traveling along this way. And he entered the Cape of Good Hope and he reached Calicut. Vasco da Gama returned to Lisbon, the capital of Portuguese, in October 1503 with 13 of his ships and approximately 1700 tons of spices, that is around the same amount of imported from the Middle East at the end of the 15th century by Venice. Portuguese profit margins from this trade were much larger than those of Venetians. A major part of the spices was sold in Europe via Antwerp, the major harbor of the Spanish Netherlands, then the most important European harbor. The Dutch, that is the people of Holland or Netherlands. The Dutch undertook several voyages from 1596 and formed the Dutch East India Company in 1602. In 1605, Admiral van der Hagen established Dutch factory at Masulipatinam this year, and Pettapalli, which is called as Nizamapattanam, and Devanampattanam. In 1610, upon negotiating with the king of Chandragiri, found another factory at Pulikat, which is now between the borders of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Other commodities exported by the Dutch were indigo and Bengal raw silk. Pulikat was the headquarters of Dutch in India. Now, the British. On December 31st, 1600, Queen Elizabeth I formally granted rights to the East India Company to trade in India. On the southeastern coast, the English established at Masulipatinam in 1611 and near Pulikat in 1626. The Sultan of Golconda granted the English the Golden Fireman in 1632, by which they were allowed to trade freely in their kingdom ports. In 1639, they built a fortified factory in Madras, which was known as Fort St. George, which soon displayed Masulipatinam as headquarters of English settlement on the Coromandel coast. Over 250 years changed the form. Over 250 years changed from a trading outfit to a colonial power. It was owned by wealthy merchants and aristocrats, and government retained indirect control. But by the 1630s, it focused on trading Indian textiles and Chinese tea. And it was dissolved in 1858, and India came under the direct British rule. Controlled half of the world's trade in cotton, silk, indigo, dye, salt, saltpeter, tea, and opium. The Danes, that is, the people of Denmark, are called as Danes, or the Danish. The Danes formed an East India Company in India in 1616. The Danish settlements were established at Tranquebar, which is called as Tarangambadi in Tamil Nadu now, in 1620, which was the headquarters of Danes in India. They failed to strengthen themselves in India, and in 1845, they were forced to sell all their Indian settlements to British. The French. The first French factory in India was established in 1668 by obtaining permission from the Sultan of Golconda. In 1693, the Dutch captured Pondicherry, but was handed back to the French. In 1701, Pondicherry was the headquarters of the French. If you like this video, give your feedback in the comment section, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.